People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Do not come. Do not come.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat, Sunday night shit show.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just enjoying being semi-employed because my boss is out of town for 2 weeks on vacation.
Setting your own schedule.
Which means I'm setting my own schedule completely, and also that there's not much work because he turned off the phones. So
right. It also means you're not subjecting yourself to constant COVID in the truck.
Absolutely, I am safer from COVID than I have been ever, probably.
I flew back from Cincinnati yesterday. I never see anybody with a mask. It's just amazing. It's just so crazy to me, like on a plane with that air. And do you remember like at the beginning of COVID or like the first year, and people were like, I had to fly and I'm not getting sick. And normally when I fly, not me, but like people were saying like I'm just going to wear masks from now on when I fly, even when COVID's over. And now COVID's not over and nobody's masking. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's really wild. I mean, the last big trip I took, which I wouldn't do now, but long story, I went on a cruise, but I had to fly to Europe. It was my best friend's dying wish, kind of thing. So bucket trip. And I took the risk with COVID, but at that time, masking was required. Vaccine cards were required.
Yeah.
And everyone took it seriously. The entire plane was masked, It's like, I don't know how we went from that so quickly to just like, fuck it, when nothing really changed on COVID or the risk in airplanes. In fact, we've got all this knowledge out there of how bad it is, clearly.
Yep.
And people are just like, I don't want to look uncool in a mask.
Biden ended the pandemic. Yeah. I mean, truly, I keep thinking about that Bill Burr line where he said, this was in 2008. I think they're going to let Obama win because the economy is about to tank and they want to blame it on the black guy. And I feel like every time they really need to put the final nail in a coffin of some policy, it's Democrats they bring in to do it, because why not? We're killing woke. We're killing any, trans rights, or, I mean, I don't know. It's just amazing to me that it truly was a completely manufactured end to the pandemic that has nothing to do with reality. And we're just moving forward.
It's just so clear that this is an issue where if you look at the facts, the pandemic didn't end. The risk is out there. We're decimating our schools and kids and workforce, disabling millions of people without any sort of like, well, another year of, killing and disabling all these people. But that, then we'll have this solution. But no, we had to fight back to get them to not pull all the funding for long COVID, like all the long COVID funding, which is the only way out of this is, a sterilizing vaccine. But like the number of people that are getting disabled every day is just exponentially growing, and there's no long COVID cure.
There's no long COVID cure. And then there are also all these other, like, cancer rates are, kids are dying of cancer. And doctors actually, because we're not right now, even though we're talking about COVID right now, we don't really have a segment on it today. But we had pulled, it's such a weird thing, but the owner of the LA Times is a doctor. And now I can't even remember his name, Dr. Sunyang. I can't remember, but he's talking about COVID and saying like he's never in his whole history as a doctor had 8-year-olds dying of colorectal cancer or pancreatic cancer. And he's now seen several, right? So like, we know that it affects the cells that help fight cancer. I don't know. We are really screwed. We're screwed. Anyway, yay, the shit show. Okay, let's start. This is me starting on a positive note. Do you guys feel the positivity? I'm so positive. We're going to thank our wonderful members, our pup heroes, insurers. You guys are awesome. Maybe the problem is I have not yet had my first sip of wine. Back with my big Red Bull. So cheers to all of you. Thank you.
Cheers. I got my green beer, so it's almost like I disappears sometimes because of the green screen effect.
I like
I'm
it.
not drinking on my Zoom call, boss.
You're like with Jeffrey Toobin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just a reminder, please like and subscribe and smash that notification bell and all that good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Hashtag joy. Joy. That's me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's it's a brat summer. It's a brat Sunday night.
Yeah. How did that work out? You know, all that joy instead of policy, and look what we got. Because you know,
excellent.
if you ran on joy and joy didn't win, so now let's just get rid of all the policies that they didn't. We had a whole election cycle with no belief system on the Democrats' part, and they're now trying to double down on that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that for sure because it's so vile. But before we do get to the Democrats, let's get to a socialist who is brilliant and is really, storming the media, being profiled everywhere because he is the legal representation for Mamadou Dal. And his name is Eric Lee, socialist, and he is not letting anybody off the hook. So that's exactly the energy we need. Here is his appearance on CNN.
Eric, to you, you've spoken about the partisan overlap here and a dissatisfaction with specifically the Democratic Party's advocacy for some of these students. What are you expecting? What do you want to see that you're not seeing?
Well, I don't expect anything from the Democratic Party. The Biden administration paved the way for the Trump administration's assault on pro-Palestinian speech. The framework of the war on terror, which has developed over the last quarter century, was an entirely bipartisan, reactionary, anti-democratic project. It doesn't surprise me that the Democratic Party is totally silent when it comes to the defense of the most basic democratic rights of the entire population. Even self-proclaimed left-wing politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez haven't spoken up in defense of Mr. Tall, though he's a resident of the state that she represents in Congress. Our appeal is to the population, that we will do everything that we possibly can to defend democracy in the courts. But the real defense of democracy has to come from the people. And that's the appeal that we make to you. This is not just about the speech that Mr. Tall wishes to engage in. If the US government can go around the streets of this country, pick people up, throw them into the back of vans, drive them to detention centers 1,000 miles away, that's it. That's the end of democracy. This is where the line has to be drawn. The response of the population, not the response of the political establishment, is going to depend whether we have a democracy or whether we have a dictatorship in this country.
Eric Lee, Chris Godchild Bennett, thank you both for the conversation.
Thank you.
Eric Lee, you're never coming on again. You guys write his name down. Eric Lee, check the box.
His inner monologue was screaming. You could hear that, like, oh man, that's never happening again. But he's 100% right. And Democrats need to hear that also, because otherwise they only blame Trump, which is what's happening now. It's the most amazing thing we're watching. If Kamala were president, none of this would be happening. She wouldn't be using ICE like this. Like, they missed the whole bit where she said that there was no space between her and Biden, and she was still promoting all the lies, the atrocity propaganda lies about Hamas rapes and beheadings, even in this past July, when it's all been completely debunked. They're Democrats talking about, protesters getting funding from other countries and being useful idiots for Iran and Russia. I mean, it was like, it's a bipartisan effort. So really important to know that Democrats are fine with this. And by the way, under Biden, with Black Lives Matter protests for George Floyd, protesters there would be vans that would just pull up, mask people, and they'd be taken away in the van. That was under Biden.
This is it. He said it perfectly. It's been a bipartisan project to suppress free speech, and all these cop cities are part of it. You got Schumer, the head of the Senate for the Democratic minority.
Yep.
He's saying his job is to keep the Americans supporting Israel. Like, no, you're a senator. That's not your job. You shouldn't be out here criticizing protesters and saying that they're Hamas too. I mean, he's doing all the bidding of the Republican Party, all the bidding of Israel. None of no representation for what his people actually want, which is the people in his state.
Yeah, it's pretty gross, which is what got us to the title of our show, DARVO. For anybody who doesn't know, it is a narcissist's technique, usually used by abusers to deny, attack, and then reverse victim and oppressor or offender. Sorry, I said oppressor. DARVO. So it's a form of gaslighting, right? And you move everything around and you make a person feel like maybe I'm wrong. He didn't really do that. She didn't really, And so the conversation about anti-Semitism on college campuses started right from the beginning. And it's been, there's just been absolutely no proof. There's been no even instances of it whenever anybody has said anything that could be at all inappropriate. Members of the protesters immediately, because they were so well trained, they immediately shut it down. And usually if anything like that has happened, it's an infiltrator who is trying to rile things up and make it look like the protesters are anti-Semitic.
But when you have all these Democrats going out there trying to get in the front line of fighting anti-Semitism, and there's no real cases of some of these instances that you're referring to, but they have the cases of pro-Israel supporters doing these things that are documented and proof. So if it's really about representing the people and whatnot, and not about suppressing free speech that the government doesn't want, you would be pointing out those cases as well.
Yeah.
And they're not. That's why they lost Michigan.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, okay. So there's a documentary called October 8th, which I think it's being produced by Sheryl Sandberg, who was the director of the Scream Without Words documentary, that was just all lies about Hamas and what was it? Oh my God. Sorry. I got 2 hours of sleep yesterday because I was traveling and I can tell my brain's a little mushy. Sorry. Okay. Screams Before Silence, which was the documentary that said it was all these people, some of them were hostages who admitted as hostages, which is completely inadmissible, to sexual assaults and rapes. Other than that, there's no footage in that whole documentary. There is nothing in there that substantiates the lie, the accusation that Hamas used sexual violence as a tactic or a weapon of war, right? So we've now had that lie repeated by every single person in a position of power in the US, even after it's been debunked. We know that all of the actual physical violence, the arrests, the disruptions, the attacks on encampments, all have happened from pro-Zionist, pro-Israel protesters. Some of them are ex-IDF. They've attacked people. They've had help from the police attacking people. There have been hundreds of arrests. Their colleges have called the cops on their own students. They are coordinating with ICE now, right? So the people who are under attack are the peaceful protesters, many of whom are Jewish. So I don't think that's anti-Semitism. I just think it's anti-American or against our Constitution. But there's no proof of any Jewish person in this country being attacked right now in an anti-Semitic way, in the same way that the pro-Palestinian anti-genocide protesters have been attacked at all. Not one. Right?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. And yet, we've got Deborah Messing, who's really upset that even though she stood with Black people, they're not standing by her. And she said, remember a few months ago or a year ago, like that teaches her, she and Juliana Margulies are no longer going to fight for what's right, because when they want to support genocide, lesbian women and Black people aren't standing by their side. So here's Deborah Messing 2 days ago. New anti-Semitism documentary, October 8th, is a film that should be seen by all. New anti-Semitism documentary. Okay. In this documentary, there is a clip of Sheryl Sandberg that is so nauseating, it gave birth to the title of our episode.
I was on a walk with one of my closest friends who's not Jewish. And just out of nowhere, not expecting to say this, what came out of my mouth was, will you hide me? Like, if it comes to that, will you hide me and my family? And like, do I really think that's going to happen in the United States? No. And it was interesting because she didn't really know what I was talking about. She, what do you mean hide you? And I explained that there are these righteous people that hid Jews. This is the story of Anne Frank. And then, of course, she said, oh, I know what you mean. But any Jew would have known what I meant immediately.
What she was talking about. Her friend was just like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, she probably had to like swallow the vomit in her mouth before she responded.
You're scared for your life? We're suppressing free speech at colleges everywhere in support of Palestine, but you're worried they're coming for you?
I mean, honestly, that's humiliating, like on every level. First of all, yes, of course, her friend knew what she was talking about. And
yeah, a Jewish person that didn't know about the Holocaust. Like, what do we?
Yeah, well, she said she wasn't Jewish. She wasn't Jewish.
I thought she was Jewish, but either way, yeah.
Yeah, but she said her friend wasn't Jewish. Any Jewish person would have known. No, her friend, I'm sure, knew, but it's completely inappropriate as we're watching every day Palestinians being slaughtered by Israel, whom Sandberg supports, and then in our own country, students just being whisked away to maximum security prisons in states halfway across the country for peaceful protests. And you're worried that there's some, and everybody's talking. And by the way, the people who are in power, who I don't think they care about anti-Semitism at all. What they like is that Israel is a perfect model of a white supremacist state, and they're getting away with it. That's why, you know, all these white supremacists, neo-Nazis love Israel. They support it.
As far as our politicians, I think it's just that the system in place relies on this money that's in place, and going against it is going to cause such a kerfuffle in their own personal finances and winning their reelection, and they just can't resist it at this point is what I think. I don't think it's really like a white supremacy project from the people in power. It's a tool, just like,
yeah, but I don't think they care about anti-Semitism. Like Donald Trump,
of course not. Of course,
about anti-Semitism, right? Yeah.
I mean, I was going to bring this up because, you know, your school, Columbia, has been the height of all this stuff. Davis joined them last week too.
Nice.
So at Davis,
it only took 18 months. Sorry,
which is my alma mater. Just
they're 18 months behind. What happened?
They suspended the law school association because they voted to divest from Israel.
God.
They just said, we don't want our money in this association to go to Israel. And they were suspended.
I mean, that's what the whole thing has been, right? Like that's the whole point of it, is a divestment, because that's the only power that students feel like maybe they have over their schools, which are often, especially these private schools, you know, multi-billion-dollar endowments, and they don't want that money going to Israel, to arms manufacturers that are supplying Israel to do a genocide. So that's where it all started, was we would like the money that we pay to this school not to be funneled to genocide. And so you're
Yeah.
saying that that was the law school at Davis, and they did what?
They suspended the student group, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, look, the teachers are on the student sides for the most part on this. And even the administration leans towards the students, but they get their funding and they're at risk from the government as well. If they allow too much free speech pro-Palestine, the government can find ways to cut funds and the donors.
Well, I mean, okay. So first, I'm going to quibble a second because I don't think that the administration is. I think the faculty, a lot of them are on the side of the students, and many of them have been fired and arrested. Also, like we saw like a 70-year-old professor who was just coming over to find out. Was it at Emerson or Emory? I can't remember. Last spring, coming over because cops were like throwing a peaceful protester on the ground. And she said, "Is everything okay? That feels really rushed." They did the same thing then to the I don't know exactly her age, but she was, I mean, it shouldn't happen to anybody, but she was also an older woman, and they threw her to the ground and hauled her off. We've seen many professors at Columbia who have been, fired, let go, forced to resign. But the administration, they are no longer academics. And I think that is a huge shift. They are just business people. They don't care about it.
Yeah, and I don't mean to imply that they're on the side of the students per se, but they don't want to be in this position because it's bad for their college. It's bad for their membership. They're stuck and they're obedient to the donors because that's why they're in power.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like politicians, kind of like.
They're like what?
They're like politicians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all just money. Like, and it's that thing. I mean, so many people have said it, but that universities are hedge funds now with a side hustle in academia. They really don't care about the academia at all.
Absolutely. And you just have to look at how many of our institutions in this country are invested in the military industrial complex. Like it's just ridiculous how much money colleges like UC Davis, their whole stock portfolio is bombs.
It's so gross. And sorry. I'm going to go to that. But Columbia is the biggest landlord in the city. And that was true even when I was there decades ago. I mean, education has very little to do with their mission statement anymore,
Yeah. Well, just since you're bringing up landlords, my graduate school is the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and they own so much of San Francisco. It's ridiculous. They have like massive buildings everywhere that they're owned. They could, you could just house all the homeless in San Francisco and some of the buildings that they own.
100%. No, it is really gross. Just to go back, because there's a lot of DARVO going on. And I mean, we're probably being a little fluid on sticking to the exact definition or, attributes of DARVO. But the gaslighting, the lying, and the switching around, like who are the victims and who are the offenders. So this, her documentary, Screams Before Silence, bring them home now. And of course, that's referring to the hostages, to the Israeli hostages, not to the almost 10,000 Palestinian hostages. Bring them home. The film sheds light on the sexual crimes committed by Hamas on October 7th and exposes the harsh reality faced by the hostages. Just as a reminder, this is from Haaretz in April. At Shura base, to which most of the bodies were taken for purposes of identification, there were 5 forensic pathologists at work. In that capacity, they also examined bodies that arrived completely or partially naked in order to examine the possibility of rape. According to a source knowledgeable about the details, there were no signs on any of those bodies attesting to sexual relations having taken place or of mutilation of genitals. These teams did not document a single case of sexual assault or cases of genital mutilation. Beyond this, from inquiries put to 3 bodies in the defense establishment by Haaretz, it emerges that the intelligence material collected by the police and the intelligence bodies, including footage from terrorist body cameras, does not contain visual documentation of any acts of rape themselves. This is from the UN special report The mission team, specifically the forensic pathologist and the digital analyst, reviewed over 5,000 photos, around 50 hours, and several audio files of footage of the attacks. In the medico-legal assessment of available photos and videos, no tangible indications of rape could be identified. While the mission team reviewed extensive digital material depicting a range of egregious violations, no digital evidence specifically depicting acts of sexual violence was found in open sources. And just so you know, those are taken directly from Squirrel's account, which is why they're highlighted where she highlights. But we've known this now. So the fact that they're still pushing that out there, when on the flip side, documentation of Palestinians, I mean, for decades, but especially since October 7th, being raped to death, being raped with hot pokers, with dogs who have been trained to rape them. We saw protests, riots for the right to rape at the Tinem, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. We saw it in the Knesset, the members of the Knesset arguing about how, yes, they are subhuman. We have the right to do whatever we want to do to them. We saw a head rabbi sanction the rape of Palestinians if it made the IDF soldiers feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you pair tangible evidence with leadership saying these things are okay, and you have a pretty good case that they're the bad guys here. And that's what the whole world has seen it. And flip it around, and what have we seen of the actual Palestinian rapes and beheadings and all that? We had nothing. So that's why they have to make these documentaries they fluff it all up. And this is the problem with documentaries in general. You have to really be suspicious of the motives, and you have to be educated on media to watch a documentary that's inaccurate and see how they're painting this mural that's not true. Yeah. You know, and that's what they're doing with this.
Yeah, it's grotesque. It's grotesque. And again, as you said about talking about students on campuses feeling unsafe, if that were truly what these, politicians and administrators cared about, they would at least mention the protesters who are also unsafe. But instead, every protest, anybody saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, anyone wearing a keffiyeh, anyone wearing watermelon earrings or Palestinian flag, that is considered anti-Semitic. The mere existence of Palestinians is anti-Semitic. That's where we are.
Yeah, like at my alma mater, not wanting to invest in the war. Like, that's not even saying I'm on pro-Palestine. I just don't want our money going to Israel on this
Israel
situation.
has a right to defend itself, Pat. Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yeah.
That's why AOC, Democrat, voted to keep arming them in their defense. They're defending themselves. Going back, though, to Sandberg, this is really rich because just recently, one of her former employees at Facebook, here we go. Former Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg spent $13,000 on lingerie for herself and a young female assistant during a trip to Europe and exhorted another one of her subordinates to come to bed during a private jet flight on the way home. Her former assistant, Sheryl Sandberg's former assistant, says she was forced into risque work trips with Italian lingerie and head stroking. That's one part. I mean, and when your boss, who's one of the most powerful people in the country, is buying you lingerie and telling you to come to bed, like, lines get blurred, and that's sexual harassment, right? The other thing and this is interesting, I think this might have been from Haaretz. I'm sorry. I don't know which journal. No, Tech Nation, The Marker. I don't know. This is more appropriate to what I'm talking about. Her boyfriend, Bobby Kotick, who is Kotick, I don't know. He's a big Activision CEO. It's a gaming company. He didn't inform the board of reports, including alleged rapes, that the company faced multiple regulatory investigations. And when Sandberg was at Facebook, Meta, whatever, she pressured the Daily Mail not to report on all of the sexual violence happening underneath her boyfriend at his company.
It really is DARVO direct.
Yeah, I mean, like, gross. It's just gross. Disgusting. There's more.
Let's go.
Okay. This is Eileen Levy. How it started, how it's going. The Economist, Israel alone, which, I mean, that's another part of the Hasbara, right? Like, oh, they're alone. They're in the midst of they're in a really bad neighborhood. Why? Why does everybody hate Israel so much? Could it be that, like, right now they're breaking ceasefires, they're bombing Beirut, they broke the ceasefire with Lebanon, they broke the ceasefire with Gaza, they never stopped the pogroms in the West Bank. Even during the ceasefire, it actually ramped up when the ceasefire with Gaza started. For every hostage they've returned, I think they have stolen like 6 more in the West Bank. And they're bombing Yemen. So they've never been alone. There's a reason that the people around them detest them. But when there
Well, how can you be alone when you have the most powerful country on earth right here, us, with you?
Yeah.
Like, and our allies by default, because it's in our alleged interest to support Israel here.
Yeah. All of Western Europe and the United States and the UK. So not alone. But then, the other side of it is, and now they're talking about the hubris. I mean, that's to me a really mild term for genocide, but yes, hubris of thinking that you can just expand and take over, southern Lebanon and, Golan Heights and all of Gaza and the West Bank and, but here is a former member of the Knesset saying, sometimes you just can't win as a Jew. Wait, I think we have words for that. Really? Has nothing to do with being Jewish, except that you all Zionists keep bringing the rest of us Jews down with you. Like, of course, if you say that all Jews are Zionists and all Zionists are Jews, and then in Israel, and, we're all Israel, and then Israel's doing a genocide, yeah, I mean, people are probably going to conflate those two terms, Zionists and Jews, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to come after Trump now as a Democrat for this, which you should be, like, this is wrong. We need to stop this, of course. But you got Biden coming out saying, I'm a Zionist. Like, so he conflated these two terms intentionally upon the direction, I'm sure, of Israel and the Hasbara. Like, it was not an accident. He comes out and says he's a Zionist while his party is telling him, get the fuck out of Israel. I mean, out of Palestine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to read some people's stuff, but it's too hard for me to get all there. So I'm really sorry that I am not getting to everyone's comments that we're looking. Okay. So that is what's happening with, and then just, there's so many different like overlappings, right? Like, so we have a bunch of the university stuff and the First Amendment being completely flouted, but just with the DARVO stuff, we're going to go back to this, which is the Democrats. Only 34 Democrats signed the letter on ICE abducting students. 34. So again, bipartisan project, right? What do we have? 538 members of Congress in total.
Right. So, and the reason is, Democrats want to pretend that wokeness cost them the election, that the country really does want to crack down on immigration, and that the country is really behind ICE. Just don't be so dickish about it, is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But they're happy for the vans coming up and, denying due process and just throwing people in a van and putting them on a flight to a fucking foreign prison.
I mean, not even speaking up about it. Like the fact, Eric Lee saying that, not speaking up for his client who is a resident in AOC's state, I mean, you don't have to be. I mean, you could be a resident anywhere to still speak up, but like specifically, and she's not speaking up for it. And also voted to, that anti-Semitism act that conflated criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism, which is exactly
right, which
what this is all going to lead, right?
And at the time, we argued on the right side of this at the time, but I mean, the bill had no teeth, but that's not what's important. It's
Right.
it's fulfilling the propaganda. It's telling the world we do conflate Zionism, anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. All of us do. All of us, all the Democrats, all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And even just the condemning Hamas. Like, no, I don't again, I know we've talked about this before, but when Norm Finkelstein on October 8th, 2023 said, I don't condemn Hamas. They are fighting for their liberation. The UN does not consider them a terrorist organization. The legal team at the New York Times, who ended up having to resign, this guy, I can't remember his name now, but we covered it, back in November of 2023, they didn't assign the label terrorist to Hamas. And actually, Hamas had been taken off the terrorist list by the US for several years because they amended their charter. They said that they said that their problem was with Israel's siege on Gaza and that they wanted self-determination.
Yeah, and over we're told, without question, all these journalists on TV said, oh, you got to look at their own charter, says that they want death to Israel. Even though they all knew, I mean, maybe they didn't know because they're not doing any fucking research and they're getting spoon-fed stuff from the IDF. Right. But that was old news, that was another thing. They're just saying every day, like it was a basic fact that It's in their charter. They want death to Israel. And yeah, it was at one point,
right,
essentially, but that was a long time ago. And another along the same lines, oh, the people voted for Hamas. Well, the people voted for Hamas like 20 years ago. Those people aren't around anymore. And the whole population didn't even vote. Only 20% of the population voted or something, so. I mean,
that was Osama bin Laden's justification for flying the planes into the Twin Towers, right? America was supporting Israel. The US was supporting Israel. Israel was occupying and dominating Palestinians. And because we are the US and we voted for that, that's what we deserve. Think about what we deserve now. And by the way,
it's all coming back to us at some point.
It
is.
The new president of Colombia, Claire Shipman, is an AIPAC supporting, fundraising, former journalist. So I'm sure she's going to have an even hand when it comes to it. Columbia University's Board of Trustees co-chair and new acting president Claire Shipman appeared on stage at AIPAC's 2018 conference with Senator Coons raising money to protect Israel. And she is married to Obama's former secretary, Jay Carney. You have to feel bad for all these people who are feeling that we're all being anti-Semitic by criticizing their absolute depravity.
It's true. And I mean, what you just brought up there, I've noticed a lot of connections with politicians and colleges lately. Like, I don't think that connection was as clear as it has become lately.
Yep.
It's kind of the revolving door of like the elites in town are at the colleges and they meet with the local election people, not elected, local politicians. And it's just the big club. And the big club is pro-Israel. And if you're not with the big club now,
Yep.
you better watch what you say. You know, that's the message to us.
Yeah. I mean, and it is having a chilling effect, obviously, on the universities. But, think about all of the professors, all of the science people who were meeting and getting money and funding from Jeffrey Epstein. Like huge universities, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I mean, how did he even get a teaching job at Dalton? He didn't even graduate college, right? But it's all intertwined because they need money. They always need more money for research. They've killed the liberal arts. Like, what do they even think you're supposed to do at a university when you're getting a liberal arts education? You're just supposed to be indoctrinated. You're never supposed to get into debate and discussion.
Well, it's crossing over from just the issue of Palestine to science. Obviously, scientists are 3 out of 4 scientists think they might want to leave the country. 3 out of 4.
I want to leave the country, but I don't know where to go that's out of reach of these psychopaths. But yes.
But I mean, we'll get to some of that other stuff, but facts are under attack here. Like hey, these are the facts in Israel. This is the fact about COVID. This is the fact about vaccines. You got RFK Jr. coming in. I've always said he's the worst of all these for our personal threats as Americans. And here we are with the measles outbreak. And he's like, maybe we should just let it rip. Let it rip.
Germ theory. It's so good for you. Let it rip. Yeah. And like, God, what it was at I think a London hospital. This was a few years ago. This was before October 7th. And I know we've talked about this several times, but like there were pictures drawn or paintings by young Palestinian children on the walls. And there were complaints from patients saying it made them feel uncomfortable. Like, then what do you do with that if you are a Palestinian? What do you do if just your mere existence, the fact that you are a breathing person, is anti-Semitic to these people? This doctor, this was just NYU canceled a speech by the former president of Doctors Without Borders because she was going to discuss the genocide in Gaza. A slide about the death toll in Gaza could be perceived as anti-Semitic. A couple of the slides in her presentation touched on the casualties in Gaza during the Israel-Hamas war. I even hate that framing. Like, it's not a war. It's an occupying force just laying complete siege on people fighting for their liberation. But okay. As well as the cuts at the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, Lou said she was told the slides about Gaza could be perceived as anti-Semitic, while the USAID section might be perceived as anti-government. Lou, who was already in New York when she got the call, offered to make edits to those slides. Thanks, Lou. Like, is it worth it? Because honestly, was that worth it? Offered to make edits to those slides, but then 3 hours later, after some deliberation, she said the university apologized and said they had to cancel. I was stunned, even after I grabbed my ankles and was going to like edit the truth. I mean, I'm not saying she was going to lie, but still, like, that's actually, because Columbia, the crazy thing is Columbia has been horrible to their students and faculty. They called the NYPD on peaceful protesters in their encampments. They've been horrible. They allowed ICE to come and arrest a green card holder who was their chosen mediator, Mahmoud Khalil. They chose him. The administration chose him because of his demeanor and his de-escalation. And he reached out to them the night before saying, I'm scared. I'm getting death threats. They've been disgusting. Then Trump gives them an itemized list of even more crackdowns that they have to do. They comply. He still takes away $400 million in grants.
Yeah. And through all this, who's supposed to be preventing some of this? It's the Democratic Party, right? We set up this 2-party system, and it's clear we don't have a counterweight to this from the left. I mean, Lila and I are in California, liberal, Nancy Pelosi, California, whatever you want to, right? But my college down the street, just, 20 minutes from me, suspended a group of their lawyers, the legal association, whatever, group of student lawyers, because they didn't want to put money in Israel, and they suspended them. And that's happening in liberal California. So like these guys are not doing anything to protect free speech here.
Yeah, not at all. And then you have to start thinking like, what are we protecting in this country? All right. I know we're going to get to all of that stuff. The DARVO piece of it, we can just like wrap it into the Democrats and GOP as we move forward. Do you want to, or what do you want to do? Because it's been
sure. Yeah. Because it's kind of crosses all of them. So you're saying we should spin the wheel and drink some beer and have like 30 seconds of joy? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. Let's do that. Should I do that? All right, here we go. What? Oh, Nelly. There we go.
So many buttons.
So many buttons.
Yeah, baby.
There's joy. When he was asking what beer I'm drinking, and I'm drinking all day IPA. It's a lower alcohol, since I'm trying to get healthy again. Occasionally I'll drink it. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, so last week we showed, that morning routine things going around.
Yeah.
Where everybody does the morning routines. So we have a puppets version of that.
That was really cute.
Yeah.
I like this.
Right. Cute enough.
It's
It fit
cute
the
enough.
theme from last week.
I like it. Yeah, better than what I was going to show, which was a Palestinian apologizing for being alive in a spoof kind of way, but it just feels less like a timeline cleanse.
Wow.
Somehow I have a problem finding the joy. My brat summer ended. But I like those pet videos. I do. All right. Do we move on to, should we do a quick recap on what we're doing in our First Amendment, or go to the Democrats, go to the Republicans? What do you think?
I think First Amendment is still flowing with what we were on. So
Yeah.
I think First Amendment.
Okay, so let's see where we are. We have Rubio explaining why he is, without even students' knowledge, revoking hundreds of visas just because it feels good for him.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
First of all, a lot of those people came here before October 7th. And as bad as our financing of Israel and their, the apartheid system and siege on Palestinians that they already had was, maybe they didn't know that all of a sudden we were going to go full-throated genocide, right?
I mean, there's so many layers of it that are off on there. Like, if you catch in the beginning, he says if you're part of a group that does that, like, so it's not even, he's not even pulling visas from people that do specific actions. It's just that you're basically on the side of Palestine, and this is all it boils down to.
Exactly.
And he's wrong on a lot of levels, because even someone on a visa has due process legal rights.
Yep.
They absolutely do. And he's pretending they don't.
And again, the bill of, like, the First Amendment, the things that make the U.S. truly used to make the U.S. at least a shining example of the aspirations of what a true democracy looked like, with freedom of speech and freedom of press. Those are supposed to apply to all humans, not just American citizen humans, right?
Right. And that's what it is. It's like, don't criticize the government at all now, right from our fucking Secretary of State. Like, are you serious?
Like, protest is patriotic. Otherwise, like, everything they say about Russia and North Korea and, whatever hostile regimes that they want to talk about, then what's the difference? If you can't criticize your government, you're just supposed to put your head down and do as we say. And that's not an education, actually. That's just indoctrination, which is exactly the whole point of defunding public education, of making private education ungodly expensive, of putting people in crushing debt. Put your head down, do what we say, and there will be no freedom of thought or discussion, no debate. So the thing that happened that he's responding to was last week there was Mamadou Tal, and before that there was Mahmoud Khalil, and I mean, I know there have been others, but it was a tough student. It's a graduate student who I don't think she was even part of the protest, but she was a co-author, her byline, on an article in the school paper saying that the administration should listen to the students and divest from Israel, from weapons manufacturing that goes to Israel. And this is what happened to her when she was coming back from breaking her Ramadan fast at dinner. So half of those people are in masks, no IDs. They're just coming up to her.
You guys covering your faces? You want to take those masks off? Is this a kidnapping? Yeah, you don't look like it. Why are you hiding your faces? Why are you hiding your faces? Can I see some faces here? How do I know this is the police?
This is
Seems
for
like
wanting
bullshit to me. Certainly looks like it. Bit of a kidnapping going on here?
Again, there's no charge against her. She's done nothing illegal. They're not presenting any ID. They're almost all masked, and they're just driving off. Put her in handcuffs, drive her off. This is footage that it said was obtained by Daniel Boguslaw, and I don't know if he's the one taking it or if he just was given it. But that is horrifying. She was then sent to Louisiana so that's Tufts, that's Boston, sent to Louisiana after a judge said that it went to a judge, and he said that he or she, who's the judge? Sorry, I don't know. Louisiana, I don't know who the judge was, but anyway, in spite of the judge's order, just like all of the Venezuelan immigrants were sent to El Salvador dungeon prison, in spite of a judge's order to turn back and bring them back, they just took her. Rumeysa Öztürk, a PhD student at Tufts, taken into custody by federal immigration agents outside her off-campus apartment and moved to Louisiana. And wouldn't you know it, Beitar takes credit for that. She was on our list. Many more jihadis are. Jihadi, what? I mean, whatever. I don't even but we'll be making a new submission Monday with approximately 1,800 more. We now have Johns Hopkins told not to intervene if ICE agents come to campus looking to detain community members. Employees told not to help community members leave or hide. Sheryl Sandberg, will you hide us if they're being sought? And yeah, this hundreds of international students in the U.S. have been told to self-deport and have had their F-1 visas revoked for sharing anti-national content. So apparently our nation is just like genocide is our primary concern right now. And if you're anti our genocide, you're anti-US. And so the revoking visas, they are revoking people's green cards. They are trying to revoke birthright citizenship. So, and again, like it shouldn't be, oh, you know, they're coming for you next. You should just care that it's happening to anybody. But like, this is a project. They are going to label all of us treasonous, traitors.
When they're trying to get away with this right now, lumping it in with deportation of immigrants coming across the border illegally.
Right.
They're just trying to extend that, like, because they saw there was no pushback from Democrats on the border stuff. And, you know, and then they know also Democrats are on Israel's side on all this stuff.
Yep.
And so it's just another extension of the Biden stuff going further. And now all of a sudden we're just like, yeah, well, you come to this country, you got to say the right shit or you're deported, you know? And so the regular old Fox News guys like, I supported all the, Mexicans taking our job, and we got them out of here. This is just more of that. Don't come to our country and say bad shit about us. But that only works for so long. I mean, the policies other than this that actually harm MAGA folks directly are going to impact them, but they're hiding behind the stuff that the red meat for the worst part of the MAGA movement that likes this stuff.
Right. It's like George W. Bush all over again. You're either with us or against us. The Dixie Chicks getting, canceled or whatever because they spoke out against lying us into Iraq war. Let's not forget Jeffrey Goldberg, once again, who, helped obfuscate what was really going on with bombing Ansar Allah in Yemen by having this whole Snapchat or whatever signal chat gate thing.
Well, then they're trying to make
Iraq war. Jeffrey Goldberg. They're all the same.
They're trying to make Rachel Ziegler the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing. It feels the same to me.
Yeah, that she's the reason that Snow White didn't do well. So there's also, just to run down it really quickly, this man, sorry, I thought I could do it without my readers, but it's all so small. Alireza Daroudi, an Iranian PhD student at the University of Alabama, has been detained by U.S. immigration authorities and is currently in ICE custody. As per the detainee locator of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, his location is not listed on the database. Then today, a University of Minnesota graduate student detained by ICE agents. And then here, ICE. So this has nothing to do with protesting what's happening to Palestinians, Israel's genocide. But March 25th, a prominent immigration activist, Alfredo Juarez Zeferino, known by the community as Lalo, was arrested in Cedro Woolley by ICE while driving his partner to her workplace. So now they're going to come after union leaders. Then now they're just going to come after anybody who's brown or has like a foreign name. ICE arrested 54-year-old Julio Noriega, moved him into a van before he could explain himself. He spent several hours in an ICE processing center before officers checked his wallet, realized he's a U.S. citizen. And just to help all of their efforts, we've got Harvard removing the head of its Center for Middle Eastern Studies, because apparently studying anything in the Middle East other than just heaping praise on Israel is also anti-Semitic.
Yeah, so I don't want to hear any of this liberal bastion at the college bullshit anymore. Like, it's ridiculous. These institutions are all fucking cowards.
They are all cowards. They're all cowards, and it's all about money. That's all they care about. That's it. It's just money.
Yeah, I would honestly not recommend anyone to go to college at this point. I mean, I'll just be
not
frank
in the U.S. Certainly not in the U.S., and I don't even know where. Yeah, I don't know. It's terrifying. Okay. I know everything kind of crosses over, and I know we were trying to do like sort of more concrete segments, but I'm having a hard time delineating here. We got some videos of students. We can go into that stuff. Let's see something positive.
Yeah.
Let's watch some Columbia students telling Columbia exactly what they think of their 400,000 degree diplomas.
Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free Mahmoud Khalil! Free, free, free Al-Aqsa! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free...
I like that. I don't know what's going to happen because they're not concerned about education at these elite institutions, but they will lose their endowments if that just completely goes away. So they're going to be stuck a little bit. It'll be interesting to see where they land eventually. And I think they're hoping to straddle this line where they're going to attract the best and the brightest. They're not. No foreign student should come to the US to study at all.
No foreign student should. College is so fucking expensive right now that that's the main reason that I recommend most people probably not go to college, but you know, depends on your situation. But you know, with the exorbitant student loans, you got our government just ripping you off. And you know, I mean, my student loans are ridiculous. I'm so salty about it. But to what? To go to an institution where you could have your diploma revoked because you had a tweet about Israel or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine like getting in $100,000 debt and then you tweet something one day and they're like, yeah, you didn't graduate from our school anymore.
Yeah. Horrible. And then worse than that, they're going to send you to some dungeon in Louisiana and like disappear you. I mean, that's where we are right now. Like people are being disappeared. Yeah. And I agree. I mean, this is a scary time. If you like, again, what are we protecting? What does it mean to be the US? And I know we've never fulfilled what the US, the aspirations, right? But there were at least aspirations that people pretended towards. They're not even pretending anymore. Nobody is on either side. Nobody in power, nobody at the head of these institutions. They've all just completely caved to the fascism.
Well, I mean, you just put up a slide about tourism, and Canadians are not coming here anymore. And it's the northern states in the border Canada are getting hit hard from the lack of tourism. Like nothing we're doing makes sense to us economically, even. Like that's the real. It's all just.
No, you're right.
It's just because our government is so owned by people whose interests don't align with our countries at all. So economic interests for us don't matter to them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because so this all sort of, I mean, this all started, you know, decades ago, but like the newest impetus for Hamas to break through to Israel on October 7th was that they were being completely left out. The Abraham Accords, the normalization with Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Egypt, right? They were being completely just left out and left behind because none of those, I mean, those countries are all also run by dictators who really just want US money. And however, they are now a little bit also scared of their own population's revolt because the people, as we all know, working class people across the world do have solidarity. And there is a lot of just regular citizenship or citizen support for Palestinians and for the self-determination and liberation of Palestinians amongst their people. And even though they are dictators and rule them, there is still a fear of revolt, which is why, even though they're not doing a bloody thing to help Palestinians, apart from, you know, Ansar Allah, that is now driving that is now an impediment to all that Trump wants, which is, you know, Kushner's Abraham Accords, and just to make hand over fist money even more from the Saudis and from selling weapons and all that kind of stuff. This is an impediment to that. And what it does show is even though our protests here haven't had the effect that we've really wanted it to have, it hasn't ended the genocide, it hasn't ended our support for Israel, the shipping of arms and all of that. When I look to what those dictators in the Middle East, what's holding them up, because the truth is they could just go through with the Abraham Accords, the normalization with Israel, and be done with it. But they're not. So I guess I'm just saying, like, there's that glimmer of hope that the uprising of people, like the protests, even though they're not getting the effect that we want as fast as we want it, they are having an effect.
Look, I always, and this is the only thing I can fall back on, and for like, for 10 years of doing this shit, is like, how much worse would it be if we weren't doing this stuff? And that's how I feel with the protests. But we see that they're not going to change what they're doing. They might just not get worse at it.
Yeah.
Because we sort of normalize the protests now. Like, it's just normal that there's 30,000 people at a protest, in every country at any day of the week, like that's just normal now. So there has to be a fear of God put into them that the protests are not doing, and that fear, their God is money. Yeah. We have to find a way to really impact the money, and the protests don't really do that. We need a general strike. We need something serious and more impactful.
Well, because our protests, as opposed to how the elite keep framing them, the protests are not violent. They're not anti-Semitic. They're peaceful. I mean, they're like parades, right? So
yeah, and when your protest
is stopping the money or violence, those are their choices, like, right?
And if you're in a country that has multiple political parties and it's not so,
right,
duopoly like we are, protests can put pressure on the politicians because they know, well, they're going to vote us out because, that's what's going to happen. But you can't vote out Israel from our government at all. It's impossible to do. There's no party you can put in power that supports our views on Palestine.
Yeah. And we can't get money out of politics because both parties in power love it. That's their whole.
Right. So the protests don't put a lot of pressure on their own onto these politicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luigi's put pressure.
Let's get some more Luigi in here. We do have now we're bobbing and weaving. We're gonna just go a little bit.
Do the weave while I grab a beer.
Okay, yeah, we got a little bit of Luigi. As Pat wrote either yesterday or today in a crazy viral tweet, Luigi has done more for the state of our healthcare than any politician in 40 years. A proposed California ballot initiative, the Luigi Mangione Act, would make it harder for insurers to deny medical care. Named after alleged United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione, this ballot initiative has recently been submitted to the California Attorney General's office. The initiative would make it illegal for an insurance company to delay, deny, or modify any medical procedure or medication suggested by a licensed physician in the Golden State, which could have serious consequences such as disability, death, amputation, permanent disfigurement, loss, or reduction of any bodily function. If the initiative is enacted, any decision by an insurer to delay, deny, or modify can only be made by a physician on behalf of any insurer. The initiative would also make it a felony to employ someone who is not a physician to review a decision made by a physician. It's funny because I thought I actually thought that was already a law, because one of the tactics that I saw a doctor on Twitter say was, if you are denied a medical procedure, ask who made that decision, which doctor made the decision to deny, and which state that doctor is a resident of, and does that doctor have the license to practice in the state where you're supposed to be getting the treatment. But I guess this would just like delineate it more clearly here. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the process, but I mean, it used to be your doctor said something, the insurance company would just do it, they had panels that were consistent, and we fought the panels because the panels started putting on people that worked for the drug companies, and there was a lot of corruption in a lot of these panels that are deciding surgeries and care stuff for people. But But now it's just like, some kid in a call center somewhere, probably not even in the US sometimes, is denying coverage for people.
Now it's AI. And now they can blame AI for it, right?
AI. And look, even if you pass this bill, for example, the whole system is designed to delay. That's the whole thing, to make the hoops impossible for you. And so, yeah, if you know the system and figure out how it works, like this doctor's trying to tell, you can sometimes get through it. But that the whole point is the hurdles and the obstacles, and that even if ultimately they're not allowed from this bill to deny care, to get to that phase is going to take you 2 years and you're dead from cancer or something.
Exactly.
That's the whole game.
Yeah.
And this won't pass. This is the other thing. We're in Democratic California, and I can tell you this won't pass.
Yeah, I know. Ugh, it's disgusting. And just as a reminder of the state of our healthcare here, this is Michael Olson, who's a good follow. He's a doctor, right? I think he's a doctor. Anyway, life expectancy versus health expenditure per capita. It's impossible to see all of the countries on the left who have a much higher health expectancy. That's the y-axis, and then the x-axis is the amount of money spent. So in terms of life expectancy, on that far right little dot there is our health. Right. Our life expectancy is in the middle. Not great for the richest nation in the history of the world, and yet we spend, the single
most money by a long shot. Like it's it's $4,000 more than the next closest country.
Yeah.
For about the, I don't know, I'm just ballparking it, 25th or so.
Yeah.
Outcome of those countries.
Yeah. I know it's very small. I'm trying to read like any country who has a higher life expectancy than we are, that would be like surprising to people. But it shouldn't be surprising at all, because clearly the US peddles in mass death at this point. That's all, whether it's from climate devastation, from lack of health care, lack of public health, from genocide. It just that's not in the interest of the people who are leading our nation. What do you think? What do you want to do?
Let's spin the wheel and move on to some Democrats.
All right, let's do it. What?
They need some abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Whether we land on it or not.
Yeah, baby.
What do you think? You want to do a little puppets anyway?
You want a puppets? Sure, let's do a puppets anyway. Or we didn't do a timeline cleanse yet.
Oh, okay, yeah, do kind.
Let's do some MAGA Jesus, because all this is being done in the name of Jesus with the white nationalists. They love that. So here we go.
Whoever welcomes one of these little ones in my name might be letting in a murderer or a drug. Let's get her to a detention center, so we can figure out what's going on. I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. And behold, now I'm all lazy and entitled. You shouldn't have done that. Do unto others as you suspect they might want to do unto you. What is a man profited if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? A lot. He has profited a lot. One soul for the whole world, that is an amazing deal. Why do you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye but ignore the plank in your own? Because of her emails. Yes. If a man strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him and shoot him. That is the law. If you want to be perfect, go. Sell all the possessions that you have and give the money to a solid mutual fund. By this, they will know that you are my disciples. That you say, Merry Christmas! Christ! Christmas! That's my name in there, and I put it in there because I wanted it in there so we can all celebrate Big Boy Jesus' birthday time! Okay? Okay.
That's awesome. Is that an account that does stuff like that a lot, or did you just find that? You just found it. Yeah.
Stumbled upon it. I have no idea. His
like
name
it.
was on the
Yeah. I
graphic,
have to go back and look. All right, let's move on. Very interesting article, as if we didn't all know, from Politico on the rudderless Democrats who cannot figure out why they lost. It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a lot of money from their donors. After suffering their biggest defeat in decades, Democrats are deeply fractured, rudderless, struggling to figure out at the most basic level what their message and strategy should be. So they had a meeting of the DNC, and Jonathan Capehart, who was one of the moderators, asked,
who was fired from MSNBC for lying on Hillary's behalf and not disclosing it.
I forgot that.
Excuse me.
I totally forgot that. He was one of the many.
Yeah, dirtbag. Total dirtbag.
How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Asked MSNBC anchor Jonathan Capehart. Every candidate raised their hand. That's good, he added. You all pass. Later, a DNC member asked, in reference to party positions, will you pledge to appoint more than one transgender person at an at-large seat? Only one of the 8 contenders kept their hands down. I don't know if Dems realize how fucked they are right now as a brand, said one Democratic strategist who, like others in the story, was granted anonymity. To speak frankly, it was a bunch of people politely discussing how many deck chairs on the Titanic should be reserved for transgender people, said another. Democrats never missing an opportunity to throw their base, people who are like the most victimized, abused people in our society, under the bus. It's amazing.
I mean, can you imagine with as badly as this country is being run right now, so clearly that Democratic strategists are still panicking? Like, this should be the boom, we sweep 40 fucking seats in the midterms a moment.
I mean,
but they know they're not going to. They're gonna barely win some seats back. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, I'll tell you, maybe you didn't see the star performance of this woman who wants to be the next head of the DNC, Quintessa Hathaway.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
It makes me want to do a silent dance or a dance interpretation or something to resist the
fight.
I mean, this is just such horseshit. Like, it does read like a parody. Everybody's saying that. Like, are you for real? This is what you got?
I mean, again, we all know what everybody wants. We all know it. Like, it's just, it's not even, there's no question about it. They know the thing that we show all the time with like the progressive policies that are majority popular across all spectrums of the political ideology, healthcare, living wage, free public college, not the way colleges are going now, but, did I say healthcare, end to the wars, like all of the stuff that everybody wants, but it would take money away from their donors. They're not going to do it. So now they're going to have a million different meetings and thoughts on messaging and blaming trans people and the left for their losses.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when the strategist part of it was like, hey, let's find out what people really want, and then let's come up with a plan to present to them how we're going to get them the thing that they want. And now the political strategist's role is to let's obfuscate the truth of what people want, and let's gaslight them into thinking that's not possible and they want this other thing.
It's so gross because the rest of it in the article, I mean, the article goes on forever, and it's just a lot of people who make ridiculous amounts of money, exactly what you're saying, trying to message to Democrats like normie Dems that the country's just moving so far right. And that's not true, which is, again, why, not because we are, big Bernie stands here at all, but looking at these, fight the oligarchy, beat the oligarchy, whatever, rallies, they are getting tens of thousands of people showing up. And these are, they're like the people that Democrats pretend they're going after. They're the people who are the Mitt Romney Republicans. They are the Obama to Trump voters. They are like, and they love what Bernie is saying. They don't know yet that, he's just trying to get them to come to the Democratic Party, but they love that message. Everybody knows what's popular. Of course, everybody wants to be able to feed their family, to live in a home, not to be crushed by debt, right? Like everybody wants the same thing. So the reason to show that is it's very clear that the country is not far right, but we are always only given two shitty options. And so it just keeps toggling back and forth, split pretty much in the middle. Like Trump didn't win by that much, but he did get more of, people normally considered to be the Democratic base. But basically, it's just two crappy candidates who are chosen for us by the people in power. We all know that. So they've got to frame it in a way that makes their electorate feel like, well, I guess we really do have to just like send all those immigrants back and have a fascist border bill. And I guess the trans people really fucked it up. Like, and now you have, I don't even know if we should show it because we'll probably get our show taken down, but Gavin Newsom.
Oh, Newsom, we got to show it though.
Yeah. All right. Just keep saying fair use on, it's like two disgusting people in a room together. I don't know how the interns or whoever the PAs on this show do it, but on Bill Maher, where is he? Gavin Newsom.
That's not the fair use one, but fuck this guy works as well. We'll keep that
banner. Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
No. The banner I put on the bottom. Here we go.
Oh, fair use. Yeah. Fuck this guy.
We'll keep both those up.
Yeah, and just keep talking over it. All right, so this is just a minute of Gavin Newsom, progressive Gavin.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it, bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
I just kowtowing to all of the worst parts. And what Democrats are doing is giving up the last shred of moral superiority that most Dem voters think they have when they vote for Democrats by throwing immigrants and and marginalized people under the bus. So then why would you ever vote for Democrats?
It's such a blatant lie on his part, right? So this is, it's like the documentary thing. He's putting a spin on it his way, one-sided. They're pulling numbers. Yeah, he's right about how epically unpopular they are as Democrats. Now, why don't you release the breakdown of why they're unpopular? That, if you talked about that, it would discredit everything you say after this.
Yep.
All of it. It is not be more Republican. It is not the woke stuff killed us. It is stand for what you fucking say you stand for, which you're not even saying you stand for anything anymore. You're feckless. You let the Republicans run all over you. So you don't get a poll that says you let the Republicans run all over you and then say, hey, let's hit them on my show so they can run all over me.
I mean, they really are. You know, when I was younger and I didn't even know any Republicans, but there were a lot of Democrats who would say, well, I am socially liberal, but fiscally conservative, right? And I was always like, that's just bullshit. You're just right wing, right? Because it's so easy to be like, oh no, gay people are fine. But healthcare isn't a human right and you don't deserve to make a living wage, right? Because that's never going to affect liberals' comfort if you make a woman the head of the CIA. I mean, the first female chief of staff is Trump's, right? So like, it's very easy to pluck one person out and say, look, I'm not a sexist, grab him by the pussy, not a sexist. I have the first female chief of staff. And that is what Democrats have done. Instead of broad universal programs that would lift everybody up, they wanted to make like Hillary the token, it's her turn and women can be president, and it's going to make all these little girls look up at it. You know what would make little girls happy is if their parents didn't have to work 3 jobs, never be around, be in horrible debt, never get to take vacation, have health care, right? So like, but this framing is so disgusting. And this is what Democrats are going to do. And they're taking away the one little shred of the thing that separates them from the worst people in the world.
They are, obviously. And it just runs so deep. I think they hit a point where that unpopular number of 27%, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
That's because they've lost a lot of the libs. So the libs that normally were like, we're fake standing for this stuff, or like, we're not even fake standing for this anymore. They're like, and then they're like, okay, my kid's in college. I see college tuition is fucking $200,000 a year. And they could get in trouble and not have a job and diploma after graduating if they support Palestine, which I know they do, which I also support Palestine, despite what the MSNBC is telling you as a lib. I support Palestine. So they're seeing all these things and seeing Biden couldn't do anything. Trump just does whatever the fuck he wants, but Biden couldn't do anything. And Democrats are still saying we can't do anything. So the facade is gone from libs. The left didn't change. We've been here cussing this whole system out forever, but now libs are starting to cuss it out and they don't know how to fucking handle that.
Yeah. And, the cancel culture is real, but only about very particular things, right? Like when Bernie went on Rogan, Democrats lost their heads. Bernie went on Fox and had a town hall where he got a standing ovation talking about his economic policies. And if Gavin Newsom weren't such a slimy, unctuous, disgusting piece of shit, he would talk about that. Instead of what he's doing is kissing up and being like, oh, the right got canceled for all their lives. And the truth is, there are a lot of things that people have been, I don't believe that anybody should be canceled in the way, like, I don't think that Trump should have been taken off of Twitter. I actually think it would be better if liberals weren't so stupid to have Trump's constant presence for the last 4 years on Twitter to remind everybody what a raging maniac he is. That would have been smarter, but whatever. But like Gavin Newsom's not taking that tactic. He certainly isn't saying we need to tack left. He's the progressive guy who talked about fighting for healthcare, not mentioning that at all. His whole run is we all have to just move right. So, we have third way Democrats. We've got Mark Penn, what's his name, talking about how the center is where we really have to go. We have Jerry Connolly saying that the Democrats are in great shape. And Quintessa Hathaway singing a song at the DNC convention here. I mean,
yeah. And if you watch any of these interviews that Gavin did, They're all awful. They're literally like, hey, worst person in the world, what lessons do you have for me in my party? And then him going, yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, that makes sense. Worst person in the world. I've kind of, yeah, you're right. We need to recalculate. We're gonna have a meeting amongst Democrats and circle back to that view. You know, it's just business bullshit speak by a guy who doesn't have any fucking values himself because he's fucking rich off his fucking corporate bullshit.
Yeah.
He's
And,
unaffected by any of this.
No. And on the heels of what was it, 6 months of a writer's strike and the SAG strike still going on, he vetoed 3 pro-worker bills in California. And right after, was it right? Yeah, it was right after Trump's inauguration. He flies up to talk. Was that him or Jeffries? Now I can't even remember. Flies up to talk to all the tech guys because the truth is none of it matters. Like Peter Thiel, who is, that whole like PayPal mafia, these South African Nazis, he's gay. It doesn't matter. Like that is such a sidebar thing. Nobody really cares about that if they are raking in money, which is why you will have what's his name, Netanyahu, Jewish, so worried about anti-Semitism, fine with Elon Musk doing a Nazi salute, fine with Bolsonaro, right? Like they are fine with far-right people who are huge anti-Semites. They all just want the same thing. Money is their whole religion. That's all that matters.
Yeah, which just to bring it back to the original thing about Democrats is they know how to win. Like this is not a talk about how to win. His podcast isn't a talk about how to win. His podcast is selling the idea of the Democrats moving right to the public. That's it.
This is how Kamala lost.
He goes on Bill Maher to do that because Bill Maher is really a Republican too.
Yeah. You got to do more barnstorming with Liz Cheney.
Right.
It worked well. Okay. We do have, I don't know. We don't really need to see Mark Penn talk about how centrism is the way to go. We've seen it. I will say, like this is good messaging. And to have more people at these beat the oligarchy rallies to hear these words, it doesn't mean that I'm putting faith in these politicians, but people's thoughts change when they have the vocabulary that makes what they know is right. When that is reinforced, it helps us all formulate our worldviews, because when you hear people put it into words and talk about what we all deserve, the more that happens, we're getting it from the right wing, we're getting it from corporate media, we're getting it from, soulless Democrats. So whether or not in the end, and we all know it's going to happen, but in the end, if AOC and Bernie, and we're about to show a little clip from Greg Kazar, like, I'm not putting any faith in them, but I appreciate that tens of thousands of people are hearing these words and understanding what we deserve. Because as you said, like the libs who thought that Democrats were the better choice are hearing this, and maybe that will click in.
No, there is a fight within the party of the people that want a message like Bernie and the people that don't,
right?
And that's what's going on right now. Obviously, at the end of it, Bernie and company, Bernie was just asked about this. I pulled the clip, but I didn't upload it. But, it's still like, we don't know where he was challenged on it. What are you going to do with all these people that you're taking left? And he's like, well, we don't really know. We'll see. Like,
wait. Bernie was asked, what are you going to do? Say it again. Sorry.
What are you doing with all these people that you're radicalizing, about all this stuff? And he didn't have a good answer. They basically said they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
But he said, we'll see. And, but, and people like to point out that, in these speeches, he's running around saying, vote independent, but he's also saying, don't vote third party.
Right.
So he's saying, be an independent Democrat, basically, which is not a solution that's going to solve anything. Oh, I know what it was that Bernie said. He basically said, he pushed it towards, it's going to be important we use these people for voting purposes. Like it's not about disrupting things, it's voting still.
So what he was saying is Democrats will be a better target for our protests. Is that what you mean?
No. I should just find the clip and upload it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to, because I'm just like, there's no plan. There's nobody. Is it going to be AOC? She's awful. Like, no, at least with Bernie, he had a 40-year record that was mostly pretty excellent, even though there was a lot of bad stuff. But like, she doesn't have that record. She has a lot of thirst trap Instagram posts. She has like, I don't think that she's, I mean, maybe she's the future of the party, but like, she's not the solution.
No.
Yeah. Kimmy, thank you. Cheers to you. Thank you.
Kimmy.
Thank you. And then, oh, I know. The reason I got a little distracted was there's like 8 different people who said that Lila is right.
I need some more bots. You bought some bots, huh? Okay.
All right.
I have a cat, people. Can I get some points for the
I know.
cat?
And I will say I'm being an asshole because obviously lots of people say that you're right also. And also everybody loves Strike. And that for some reason wasn't as distracting as all the people telling me how
What if
right
I get you Strike purring on camera?
Aww. That's a very calming thing that you have there. I like it. Okay. Let's just, I'm going to fill up. Why don't we show something fun and then let's get to the GOP, right?
All right, fun. What do we got? We could mock Gal. If you haven't seen this is a movie, people working at I think it was all AMC, but one of the movie places being asked to do their Gal Gadot impersonations.
Let's see it.
Okay, Sean, do your best Gal Gadot impression.
All right. Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Oscar, give us your best Gal Gadot impression.
Kal-El, no. All right, Tiff, your turn.
I need you to give me the stone. What happened to it?
All right, Chris, give us your best Gal Gadot impression.
Enough champagne to fill the Nile.
I love how they're easy to do too, because she's just a terrible actress. Let's be honest. Where are we? Why aren't we on screen?
Oh, there we are. Yeah, she's a terrible actress. And the fact that Mark Platt's son like flew across the country to take Rachel Zegler to task, and then like, because the movie is such a flop, they're going to blame it because all she said was free Palestine. And that is why they are saying that.
And I don't know any of the movie insider stuff, but I did see some tweets about it that I don't remember the details, just like the Bernie thing. So, but it was like, they had to stop production 4 times already before any of this happened. It was a mess. It was like a known mess. And you're actual Hollywood, but I know enough just from watching movies that if there's talks about a movie being messed before it comes out, it kills the movie.
Yeah, that's a disaster. Yeah, absolutely. All right, just since we're doing Hollywood just for a second, we talked about it on Wednesday, but one of the directors of No Other Land, as we said, was beaten and taken to some Israeli jail back in the West Bank, which, both of the Palestinian co-directors of the film had said before, like, it's very, it's wonderful that we're getting this Oscar, but then we're going to go back to the West Bank and be
treated like we were before.
Horribly mistreated. So that happened, and the Academy said nothing. The Motion Picture Academy. So one of the 2 Israeli filmmakers, Yuval Abraham, called out the Academy for not publicly supporting Hamdan Bilal after he was beaten and detained in the West Bank. So the Academy puts out this statement. Dear Academy members, at the heart of the Academy's mission is a commitment to honoring excellence in the motion picture arts and sciences and connecting the world through the power of cinema. We do this through our work on the Oscars, our exhibitions and programs, our preservation and education efforts, and so much more. We believe deeply, blah, blah, blah. We fundamentally believe that film has the power to enlighten global audiences and highlight different perspectives, and we encourage our members to use their art to do so. The Academy condemns harming or suppressing artists for their work or their viewpoints. It goes on. They don't mention him by name.
Yeah, what is the point if you talk about a vague thing? This is like, we're against racism, but then behind the scenes, you're just going after people for fake anti-Semitism.
Yeah, exactly. And as Yuval Abraham points out, compare that statement to the Academy's rightfully strong position when it's the Iranian government oppressing filmmakers. And their, international organization representing over 6,000 artists in 35 countries. We are deeply concerned whenever and wherever the rights of filmmakers are threatened. The recent arrest of 6 Iranian filmmakers, the sentence of 1 year in jail, right? Very specific, not the punishment, the names, all of that. So I will say, it's very little and very late, but finally the Academy apologized. 700 voters also signed on to the Academy members signed on to a letter saying that there has to be a better statement of support and solidarity for an Academy member who just won an Oscar, who's being beaten and detained by a genocidal lunatic society. So they put out another statement. On Wednesday, we sent a letter in response to reports of violence against Oscar winner Hamdan Bilal. They mentioned his name finally, co-director of No Other Land, connected to his artistic expression. We regret that we failed to directly acknowledge Mr. Bilal and the film by name. We sincerely apologize to Mr. Bilal and all artists who felt unsupported by our previous statement, and want to make it clear that the Academy condemns violence of this kind anywhere in the world. We abhor the suppression of free speech under any circumstances. Still fairly bland, but I will say that the lack of speaking up, it's, not the right word, but
defense. Come on.
Yeah. As pathetic as it is, fame means something. And if famous people, famous actors and athletes and entertainers of any kind were more vocal in their support for Palestinians and their outrage against a genocide, that would also sway public opinion. That would also make people in power, change their tune a little bit, because it does matter. Like it's all intertwined, the money and the fame and the power. Right. It's like at the beginning of Israel's genocide, Tom Cruise's agent, who I think is Palestinian American, but whatever, voiced some support for peace, basically, or ceasefire. Remember when Biden and the White House were like, no talk of ceasefire. You can't mention ceasefire. And even talking about it, Karine Jean-Pierre was like, it's appalling that anybody would ask for a ceasefire. And she was about to be fired from CAA. Tom Cruise walked into CAA, not because he gives a shit about anybody but himself, but walked in there and demanded that they reinstate her because that's what he wanted. And they did it. But like go ahead.
Well, no, but that's why they're trying to Dixie Chicks, Rachel Ziegler.
Yep.
I'm not sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but
yeah.
It is a movie that she worked on together with Gal Gadot. So you have the two clearest interests here involved at war, basically.
Yep.
And all that Rachel did was one stupid small tweet.
Free
but they want to kill her career entirely. Meanwhile, all of America in the world knows that Gadot is a terrible actress, like awful.
Yeah.
And she's going to get rewarded with roles, although it killed her movie. So like, let's see her movies go down. Don't watch a single movie of hers, please, ever.
ever. Yeah. And also, wasn't the latest, I kind of missed it, but the latest Marvel movie had Sabra, named after like another Israeli attack on Palestinians. And I think that didn't do well because it was also like people were, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't good anyway, but like people were boycotting it. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't understand artists who don't speak up. Like, what is art? The whole point is to be subversive, to speak out about the truth. It's like journalists who are just stenographers. I mean, that's why they want to replace everybody with AI, right? Because then you're never going to get a human.
Yeah, but you know, acting, there's a lot of egos, a lot of narcissism, a lot of money involved. And if they make an example out of this young, talented actress, it will chill free speech among actors and actresses, which is what Israel wants. What's what the IDF wants. It's what the Academy wants.
Yep. And they did that, you know, I can't remember her name now, but she was supposed to be like in Scream 4 or 5. And this was already, you know, a year ago. And she spoke up against Israel's attack on Palestinians, and she was fired. It was going to be with oh my God, I know I'm the actress and now I'm forgetting everybody's name. But anyway, but everybody who, you know, who spoke up was, you know, Susan Sarandon was let go from her agency. I mean, Academy Award winning actress. And again, you know, just like Columbia is going to talk about their hallowed university of social resistance and students fighting for change and against the Vietnam War and against South Africa apartheid. But when it's actually happening, they're going to, you know, coordinate with ICE and make sure that you're either deported or sent to a dungeon in Louisiana. All right, let's go for the Republicans. Where do you want to go?
Oh, what do we got? What do we got?
This is lovely. This is from the White House. I mean, oh my God. This is from the White House. Our brave war fighters executed counterterrorism airstrikes, killing dozens of ISIS jihadis hiding in a cave complex in Somalia. We continue to mop up the mess left by Biden. For years, terrorists killed Americans with impunity. Now they're the prey. And then quote tweeting themselves, simply put, we will find you and we will kill you. Welcome to the United States.
I think a lot of that language is meant to make it normalized when his own supporters, the last ones hanging on that are most America first-ish, threaten people like us who speak out online. It sort of is like, it rubs off on them like the meme, you know, I am meme. It's the same thing. It's sort of like, these guys are so awful. Isn't that cool? So the people hanging on to how violent and pro-America you can be are going to be the most radical, vocal. They're going to threaten more. They're going to call you gay and the R word and the cuck. And so it's bullying behavior that they want to trickle down to the last people hanging on to their beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. And there's just no concern. There's no concern for, not that this should matter, but like for poll numbers, for decorum, for any of the things that I hate that Democrats are only focused on that. But like, they don't even care about that. They're just like, nah, no. Like,
they don't care because look, if the Democrats have 27% support in their party, Republicans only need like 40 to win. You know, so that's where we're going. We're going every election in the last 20 years, each party candidate is less popular than the last one. And we're getting to a point where they're so unpopular that it's just absurd. And that's why you lost the libs now. You're losing the libs, Democrats.
Because you're competing with this. The House Foreign Affairs Committee puts this out, this meme, because of the gutting defunding of USAID, which I have a lot of problems with USAID. Like, I don't even think that's something we all necessarily need to be fighting for on any level. It's like the philanthropy front of, you know,
Yeah, but
regime change and stuff. But there are some good things that they do.
It's a defund the
side
police
hustle.
situation to me. Defund USAID, but find another avenue to pay for some of these good parts.
Right, exactly.
Not like get rid of the whole, defund it. Put money in somewhere. But they're not doing that, obviously. That's the whole point. They're just sacking it all.
And so this is what they put out. Again, official government tweet. I mean, these are the people ruling the world. It's amazing. God. Well, there's so much to talk about, and we're not going to get to a lot of it. But Elon Musk had a big interview on Fox with Bret Baier. And he's really upset, guys. He does not like the way he's being treated by the people who are happy that Tesla is losing billions.
Does that help Tesla? I mean, you had Tim Waltz, who's a huge jerk, running around on stage with a Tesla stock price where the stock price had gone in half, and he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do! What a creep! What a jerk! Like who derives joy from that? And
I do.
I mean,
I get some joy from that.
Yeah. But this
I'm going to get joy when that guy catches a bullet. So,
I am not going to say that out loud because I am not as brave as you.
No, catches it in his hand and stops.
Oh, yeah.
No, getting harmed.
Totally. Catch it. This is Elon Musk when he's feeling a little wealthier than when his Tesla stock tanks.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response.
That's Nazi shit.
Yep.
That's humanity. That's like you are empathetic as a human, and he's saying that out loud.
Yeah, and the guy cutting all the social safety net in America.
Firing people, gloating
with no authority whatsoever.
Yeah.
This guy wants us to care about his Tesla stock and cry for him. And no, and he's not wrong in that our government is being weaponized to protect big businesses like Tesla. We just had a case of, where is it? The felony charges for vandalizing a Tesla with a large wad of chewing gum.
Felony charges. That's insane. That is insanity. Yeah. And I mean, there's Trump saying that, out loud. I mean, we don't even show the tape, but sorry, I just want to get to because Tulsi Gabbard calls him the president of peace. Because he's saying we're fulfilling all of our obligations that we made to the Muslim communities. We're working for peace in the Middle East. We're going to bring back those Abraham Accords, which is not what Muslim Americans are. Yeah, right. And Tulsi Gabbard calls him the president of peace, ending bloodshed across the world as we are funding and arming Israel, who is currently breaking 2 ceasefires, bombing 3 countries. Where Joe Biden failed, President Trump will succeed. And in the meantime, he is also threatening Iran with bombing if the nuclear deal is not reached, even though his own intelligence agencies have said once again that Iran is not building nuclear weapons. President of peace.
Well, we've said this several times, and it's pretty well known that he's got a bunch of Iran war hawks in his cabinet. So they've always wanted to go to war with Iran. There's only so much devastation you could do in Israel.
And Israel wants to go to war with Iran, right? I mean, Israel wants that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant Palestine, but they need somewhere else to go to war with. if we get out of Ukraine. So it's just natural they're going to find this path. And the problem with people like Tulsi is she's not a peace candidate. She's never been a peace candidate. She was initially with Bernie, and then got opportunistic, sold everything out, and went the fucking hard right tack. And now she's entirely full of shit. And she took a lot of leftists with her, not us, but a lot of leftists. The Jimmy Dore left went right with her.
It's really sad because I think maybe the only good thing she ever did was resigning from the DNC chair. Wasn't she like the co-chair or sub-chair or whatever? Vice?
Yeah, I think she was.
Yeah, that was the one brave, good thing that she did. Oh, and also
she hit Kamala at the debate.
Yeah, she ended Kamala's run in 2020. That was pretty excellent.
Yeah.
No, but otherwise, she's awful. They're all awful. And we really can only rely on ourselves and a mass working class movement, which, of course, that's what socialists have been talking about all along. Oh, Pat left. It's what, Kishore and
go with this background.
But yeah. Oh, okay. There we go.
I am meme.
You and Elon are meme. The rank and file labor, the working class solidarity internationally, that's what's going to save us. That's what Eric Lee was talking about. All of that. It's not going to be from any of these people who are either, so beholden to their donors or are careerists or don't have the courage, whatever it is, they are not saving us. So.
And this is the moment where Trump is clearly going after unions now, and unions, all these union leaders, they need to accelerate this whole, we're going to have a general strike in 2028. No, we're under attack now. That's like saying, that's like saying we'll fix all this stuff in the midterms. Okay. So we're going to be in prison, tortured in another country until the midterms, and then we fix it. Yeah. Like, you hear yourselves. So these union leaders need to get cracking and get some consulting and shut shit down now for something happening now, not some hypothetical.
They have to shut it down now because they're already arresting union leaders who are not doing anything wrong. They're doing that. They're revoking green cards and naturalized citizens and F1 visas. I mean, they're doing that now. They're trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. They're going to come for all of us. So it's going to be too late if we don't speak up now. I know we all know that, but I also feel like courage is contagious. So the more we all speak about it and kind of ramp each other up, the more we can talk about it with other people who are, I never go on Facebook because all of my lib friends basically disowned me. And I realized in 2016 that they were all pretty far right fascists, even though, they pride themselves and get some moral sense of superiority for voting blue. But every once in a while, I just have to go on and just say something about you are all silent and it's fucking disgusting. There's genocide happening and I will never forget or forgive all of you. And then I just leave and then I come back and I have 30, I either have 30 notifications or I have no friends anymore on Facebook. But we have to speak up because then every once in a while I'll get a side message from somebody who's thank you. Because people feel really alone, and which is also why masking actually makes me feel like I'm doing something because nobody, if you don't care about your community, you're worthless. Truly.
Yeah. Honestly, I get a lot of messages from disabled people about masking because, the only people that seem to be advocates for masking are already disabled or whatever. And I'm a healthy person who doesn't want to be, but you can see the injustice. You could see the risk to people. So just have some balls and wear a fucking mask, man. It's contagious. It's
or have a vagina or whatever you have down there.
Have a vagina.
Have a vagina, have balls, have whatever it is. Have the fucking courage to be there for your community. And so many people are writing such sweet things, and thank you. We love you guys.
Oh,
Look
there,
at that.
she's redeemed.
Yeah.
There you go. Good.
I wanted to make sure that you felt that. And thank you guys. We truly love this. This is truly our therapy also. So thank you. Oh, and thank you, Macarius. We didn't see that before. Thank you. And Cora, I see you're a YouTube member, but I feel like you were already a member, but thank you. We love you guys. We love you guys. Thank you all. Speaking of courage, new documentary was just rushed. It was supposed to be released later, but Watermelon Films put it out just on the 28th, on Friday. If you can get to a theater to see it with your mask, please do. But this is more of what we need. So keep punching up. We love you guys, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Amen. Cheers.
Cheers.
We're here to discuss the little Gazas that have risen up on campuses across America.
There is a movement to radicalize young people.
Can you believe they are chanting about the intifada in New York City?
I really believe they are brainwashed.
There was a very concerted effort by the media to portray things a certain way and refuse to discuss Gaza. Colombia is materially invested in the genocide in Gaza. We don't want our money to go towards Palestinian death.
I was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp. The university was cracking down on Palestinian activism on campus.
It's completely farcical to imply that in any way, like, Jewish people were being persecuted.
I have never felt more proud to be Jewish than when I was pushing our university to divest from genocide.
They would just criminalize anyone who would participate in a protest. That was the moment where students were like, we need to do something more.
Letting me on the line!
The people they won't leave, what is threatening about divesting and wanting peace.
The university would say like, oh, you're overestimating your power. I remember like telling them there are 60 universities setting up encampments across the United States.
We got Yale holding it down right now on live.
What you willing to risk? What you willing to give? What if you were in Gaza? What if those were your kids?
In '68, the students at Columbia took over the campus, mainly in protest of the war in Vietnam. Columbia talks about how it was okay then, but not okay now.
Bravery is very contagious. We kind of watched Columbia in awe, and we knew we were next.
The only weapon they have is fear, and we call their bluff. They have nothing!